Well, let's get this party started.
Uh-oh.
What you think, Brian? Oh, I guess we are. Hurry up, Mark.
We don't need Mark.
Okay, we don't need Mark to start.
We don't need Mark.
Good evening. The Sergeant at Arms reminded us we needed to wait on you. We have our workshop we do quarterly. Thank you all for attending. Is this live streamed or not? Is this?
Yes, ma'am.
This is on Facebook. We will call this order. Everyone is present except for Harry Lutz, and I'm sure he'll be here. But we will start with public comments. Public comments are pertaining to only agenda items. And do we have any public comment? And we have no public comment. So, but this is a workshop. So if there are questions after we've asked ours, if you raise your hand, we'll absolutely hear you out. So we are doing Buck Island, Simmonsville sewer lighting and sidewalk update. Are we doing it individually?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you on all of them, Brian?
All but the last one.
Okay. There you go. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. And you know, during workshops, if it's easier for y'all to sit at the table, you don't have to stand up there if it's easier at some point.
Well, the microphone's there. Well, they got one on their table.
So just, you know.
Okay, so the first item that we have is the Buck Island Simmonsville neighborhood sewer lighting and sidewalk update. Hear me all right?
A little bit low.
Joe, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. Thank you. Okay, so we have done about 5 phases of the sanitary sewer project in the Buck Island Simmonsville neighborhood. The previous phases were between 2010 and 2017. You can see here how we've broken it down, showing costs, grants that we've received, how many residents we've served, and how many homes we've served. So since 2010, we've served 214 properties and about 700 residents. We've had $2 million in CB grants, and with the town match, the total of those projects are about $4.2 million. Finally received all the easements that we needed for BIS Phase 5. So we will be getting a grant for that portion of the project. That project's estimated to cost $1.7 million. This is because there's more main line to run than we had in the previous phases of the BIS Phase 5, BIS sanitary sewer projects. This next phase will serve 44 properties, broken up into 5 sub-phases, 5A through E. James Gaston Road, New Mustang Road South down to Sugar Drive on Simmonsville Road, Little Aaron Road, Gideon Way, and Posey's Court. We've received all the designs and permits. We got all the easements, and they've been recorded, and we are hoping to bid in the next week or so. We anticipate that the construction, pending when we get the bids, will be early 2020. After that, we'll focus on the historic district phases, Pritchard Street being the first one. If you're able to see this, I can zoom in if you need me to. But Phase 5, Phase 5A, 5B, here's 5E. Please stop me and ask me any questions while I'm going if you need to.
And the yellow and black dots are what we're talking about? Future sewer line?
Yes, ma'am.
And then there's a future sewer line by others, which we don't have yellow dots. Okay.
I think that was probably with the school.
Okay.
So where we're at, like I said, we're getting ready to bid the project starting at the end of this month. We'll come to council for contract approval sometime in December and hopefully start construction early 2020. With sidewalks and lighting, we've made it a practice to come in after the sanitary.
Question real
Sure.
quick. The good luck and the fortune that we've had with the 319 grants where the laterals were able to be applied, I'm assuming that that is still hold true?
Yeah, I might have skipped over
Throughout
that.
all
Yes,
of this?
we got a
Okay.
319 grant for the connections. So that's added to that pot of money that we already have there for sewer connections. So we're very fortunate to get that, and we've been doing a good job. So DHEC appreciates us and keeps giving us grants. So. So for sidewalks, we've made it a practice to come in after the sanitary projects because you don't want to put in the sidewalks and then rip them back out and then put sanitary sewer. So we just did phase 4, which ran from Parker's up to just past Graco on Simmonsville Road. Dominion is working on the design of the lighting for that area. Phase 5 will be from Kitty Road to 301 Buck Island Road. I believe it is into DOT right now to get permitted. We had some wetland crossings that we had to get approved. So we're going to have like a little boardwalk area over those wetlands. We anticipate that to go to construction in early 2020 as well. And then the final phases of the sidewalk and lighting will be over the next 2 fiscal years. We anticipate that to be about $800,000 over the next 2 years for sidewalks and lighting. Here's just a quick image. The red is what we've already constructed. Green would be the next 2 phases in 2020 and 2021.
The lighting, so will it replace the current lighting that's along there now? The tall poles with the,
For that area, we generally use the poles that are existing out there. We don't put in the.
but are you going to lower the lights? Because there's certain poles there now with really tall lights. Are those our lights?
Overhead.
Yeah, kind of a prettier.
Those are new lights.
Is that, that's as low as they can go? That's as
I'm not sure about
low
that.
to the ground as they can
Mayor?
go?
If you lower them, you'll get less light.
Oh my gosh.
And we don't want to go too high with them, obviously. We don't want too much light to spill into the
high.
road because then we face the issue that we had with the other state roads.
But
where
we have all these low light, I just wondered if those were, is that the representation of what we're going to see when this is finished?
I think
That light.
it's going to look more like Gothi Road, like what we put in those neighborhoods. And we'll get to that here in a second.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry.
No, but I'm just saying we'll talk more about those projects too.
Okay.
Again, here's just a quick outline of where we're at. We're anticipating the permit any day from DOT. We'll bid that and start construction early 2020. That's it for this update. Do you have any other questions?
Have questions? Yes.
46, what phase is we going to run sewer lines on 46?
That's phase 5E. Yes. So we'll come,
Go back to that map.
It said January construction, a start date, but it didn't say
so
when.
we're going to bundle all that into one bid. So it might be up to the contractor how they want to phase it out, but starting early 2020. So it'll go down.
Speaking of May River Road, right, Fred?
Yeah. You're doing right here, Fred?
Our property.
That portion right there, that's where it runs along. Go back to a pump station that's at the end of the line there.
I'm just curious, like above 5C, there's a black, like, long line, and then it goes up a little road, and there's another catty
But the
corner?
horizontal line,
Yeah, what are those?
that's just it separates the phases. It's just like a
Okay.
delineator.
Any questions, any comments on that?
And just an observation, I know this has been a big thing with council, and especially Councilman Toomer, but once these laterals are hooked up in that area, then all that remains is the historic district, basically? No? No?
What lateral are you talking about?
Sewer laterals.
Sewer laterals.
I believe so, if not very close.
Excuse me?
I believe so. If not,
Yeah.
it's going to be very close to within town limits.
Right.
And then we would, you know.
So my
we would-
point is, I think we would be, as a community, I know that we wanted to accomplish all this within like a 5-year period, and we've passed some ordinances and stuff to do it, but I think we'll be under 200 laterals required once in the Old Town historic area.
I don't have that number off the top. I can't remember.
I think it's quite a few more than that.
And there's empty lots, but there's not that many houses.
I can definitely let you know at
Yeah.
the next council meeting.
Just
or next
curious.
workshop.
Point being is the numbers have dropped precipitously, and a good job.
I think what might be a good next step at some point after some update of our plan, not to add it on this, in this world is, what have we accomplished? Let's get all, and then what's left? What's left on Buck Island, Simmonsville? What's left on May River Road? What's left on Goethe Road or wherever, Old Town?
I believe you remember the Easter egg map, right? With the phase 1 through 6 of the historic district, I think our intent was that we captured all of the residents that did not have access to public sewer with those 6 phases, so in the historic district. So that basically will finish out the town. And there might be a few parcels here and there, but we can figure those out.
That was my point.
Right, and we also have quite a few properties, which we have to decide how we want to do it, that have sewer available that are not hooked up.
Well, I was wondering that
Which is something to tighten up in some kind of way. Beaufort Jasper has a policy that if they put their line within 300 feet, is it, Brian? That you're required to.
Well,
Some of those same residents, they have water.
Well, I think we
did
passed
pass,
that.
we did pass the
We
sewer
passed that
connection
also.
ordinance.
Well, we passed
But
it,
it
but we haven't started
triggers-
enforcement.
But no,
Didn't,
it
I think we were gonna
triggers-
wait until
Right.
all the projects were built, and then basically it's a notice from the town manager that service is available, and they have, I believe it's 360 some days, about a year to connect.
Right.
Then we have the grants that we can help make those connections for them.
Any other questions on this? It's more, you're giving us more of an update.
But I'm happy, if I can answer it,
Sharon? And let me get you on speaker, I won't make, so Sharon Brown asked about Phase 5 on Buck Island Road. Is it near Kitty Road? Is that what you asked? Around that curve. I don't see a curve. I know, it is a curve,
Right there
but,
by Dabu and Boston Brown?
already.
oh, right above Vista View. Where is it?
Sewer's already in there.
Yeah, I believe sewer's already there.
So the question is,
Yeah, they're gonna have to.
Pat, can you come to the mic?
Put the
I'm
big,
sorry. I
put the
thought
big
it-
mic up there,
Or
Brian.
bring the big mic around.
Let everybody talk.
Oh.
I meant those who were
Yeah.
questions, is what I want some people to hear.
No, okay.
I think she's describing property
Sidewalks?
on the curve in Buck Island Road. And that area has been untouched mainly because there's a pretty good sized wetland in there that require permitting to get those sidewalks in. And we have just finished the design of that included a pretty long boardwalk in there too. And so the permitting took a little longer to accomplish that. So that's why we went ahead and finished that portion from Parker's to Graco. And then now we're going to go from Graco to finish off Simmonsville. That's phase 6.
So I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say from Graco, so turn left on Buck Island, and on the right side where the sidewalk ends, so you're talking about where it ends and then where it picks up at Wellstone. I think that's where we're.
Sidewalk map. See the green
That
portion on the
green,
map?
Yeah,
That's the remaining portion of Buck Island we have to finish.
okay.
And that's what you're describing. We're getting ready to do that, starting construction in January, which was what Brian outlined.
That-
determine the distance.
It's based on the availability of existing light poles that are out there. We try to pin them on those particular poles. That way we can, double up with powers already there. We just put a fixture on that existing pole. So if there's wide spacing on the poles, we can come back and put a pole intermediate if it's necessary. I wasn't around when that was going on, but currently, right now, we we would put an intermediate pole if we feel like it goes beyond about 200 and 250 feet. We think that's about the right spacing.
Thank you, Sharon, because that was kind of where I was going. It just is very dim at night, and I ride down there. That's kind of my road to come home to. Could y'all ride that and see if we can't lower them 6 feet lower? I don't think that light shines on the homes. I think it does shine out toward the street. It's really dim.
Okay, we can take a look at that, and again, Pat, like Pat said, that predated he and I,
Right,
so we don't know
but-
what they put, and there could be new technology that we could use LED
Yeah,
lights.
I don't think we need any new poles. I just think if you lowered it, just maybe tested maybe 50 feet of it and to see the difference, because we want people to walk at night. It's a great neighborhood to go visit and walk, but it is dim. It really is.
You may be able to correct that. Dan knows more about it. than
Yeah,
me.
I was going to
Just
say,
different lighting.
again, if you hold it, I'll just give you an example. If I stand on this table and hold a flashlight, the umbrella of it goes out further. If I step off this table and stand closer to the floor, it shrinks it down to a smaller spotlight. So what I'm trying to say is you can either add more poles and lights. Those are actually like a street light, not just like a decorative light that we have going down May River Road.
No, they're decorative streetlights.
No,
Maybe-
not like the Pimas that we have on May River
No,
Road.
but they're very, I hear you, I just gotta see it. If we could lower, I just think if you lowered it a little bit, then the light's gonna spread out further. There's 10 feet in between the lights that it's dark. I mean, I was gonna park and
I'm
walk
not
it.
arguing, but
Yeah.
the light doesn't spread out further the lower it to the ground you go.
Well, then they need lighter bulb.
Or you need
When
more
go
of
up-
them.
Higher.
You need more of
I
them.
don't think, if you go up higher, we may as well just face it to the moon.
We need them to drive down the road at night and
Drive
make,
down
and
the-
make the adjustments.
Would you, yeah,
Right.
would you please look at, it is, this would be a good night to look.
One other
isn't it?
quick suggestion is, those hoods that are on those particular lights are there mainly so that the light wouldn't get into people's property too much. If lighting isn't an issue, as you say, and
there's
you're right,
nobody that lives
we can
around
take
that
those
area.
hoods off and it'll get much better spread on those
Look at
lights.
Eagle, look at that last little bit and then ride the whole road where it currently is, if y'all wouldn't mind. I think it'd be
Will do.
helpful. So we will move on to Goethe Road Phase 2, public infrastructure improvements. Y'all are good with that?
Okay, so go through Shoals neighborhoods, sidewalk and lighting update. Again, similar to Buck Island, Simmonsville, the goal of this was to increase and improve pedestrian safety, provide neighborhood connectivity to the historic district and to parks and schools and the existing pathways along Bluffton Parkway, May River Road, Dr. Mellichamp Drive, Bluffton Road, et cetera. We completed the first phase of the sidewalks last summer. The total of that was about $466,000. It was almost 8,000 feet of sidewalk on one side of Goethe, Schultz, and Hildebrand roads. And we added an additional walk extending the Bluffton Park on 8th and 9th Avenue. We've installed street lighting in those neighborhoods south of Bluffton Parkway. Here's, I don't know if you can see it very well, I can zoom in if you need. The green represents where we've installed sidewalk in this neighborhood. A few pictures Pat took the other day, people utilizing the sidewalk at Dr. Mellichamp Drive and I believe up near Schultz Road. The phase 2 is in design right now, design permitting and easement. We're projecting this to start late fall of 2020. Easements in this area are going to be pretty difficult. There's a lot of properties that we have to talked to, and there's a lot of heirs properties that might take some time, but you know, we have John Hutchinson back. He's helping us with our easement acquisition, and he's doing a great job with that. For phase 2, we're going to install about 8,300 linear feet of sidewalk. It's going to be on the opposite side of Goethe and Schultz roads where we put it in last time. And street lighting will come in right behind that. This is harder to see because we don't have a plan like we did with that green map, but this is basically the route right here in the blue. Here,
May River Road, okay, I see where we are.
north is going the opposite direction of. So if you'll notice this section right in here, I believe this is in, right about here.
Yeah, in the county.
That's in the county. And Pat went up to their Public Facilities Committee, I believe 2 weeks ago, and they recommended to their county council to reimburse us for funds to build that section of the sidewalk. It's still pending county approval, but their Public Facilities Committee recommended approval of that. So a preliminary estimate of this, it's about $850,000. Again, we haven't finalized the construction documents yet, pending the permitting. We do have a CDBG grant for $500,000 for this portion of the sidewalk. And again, the county has recommended $90,000 reimbursement for that section within the county. Quick table showing similar to the last one, all mainly starting in 2020, pending all those easements and permitting. Have any questions? I went through that really quick, but I can go back to the maps if you need, or.
Are we doing the same thing with the lighting? We're putting lights where we find light poles?
Yes. I believe on the first phase, we did add a few poles, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Will light mean it gives more, it's more?
Down that road
I think,
too.
yeah, we don't want to have the same issue, because
Down a lot of roads tonight.
I've written down.
No, I mean, I
Yeah.
want to for myself.
Yeah,
I don't go through the road that
It looks good through
often.
there. It's really, you can see it, it's illuminated. And so if we match it on the opposite side, it'll, you know, kind of stagger them.
Is it a possibility that that could be replaced down Buck Island and
I
Simmonsville
think
if
so.
that's a better light? Okay,
We have to get with the electric company. I'm not sure where.
Absolutely.
okay.
I'm not sure the service line there, which one's Palmetto Electric and which one's Dominion.
Let's let them fight each other. Who
Let's
does
see
it first?
Down where the curve is,
No, down near what we were talking about earlier on.
yeah, that's where it starts to end a little bit past the curve going out toward the highway, or parkway, and then Palmetto picks up from there.
So I don't know if they use the same.
Let me say something.
You may.
Yeah, thank you. I think you need to bring a photometric schematic in here and let the mayor and everybody see it, because I don't think anybody truly grasps, you know, we're trying, well, I guess what I'm hearing tonight is light up the sidewalks, which is great, but it's a little more intense than just having a few lights out there, the Cobra heads, or, you know, those little 150 watt cutoff optics out there, those domes. So it's a little more complicated than that, as you know. You're going to have to add more lights out there, which is fine. But I mean, we need to understand that and look at it and figure out how we're going to go about it, because I don't think you want a bunch of power poles stuck every 100 feet in the power line out there. We may want to do something different.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit, and it adds, but I think all of this connects to one town, and it shouldn't be as obvious as a difference with Old Town with lights every 15 feet, and now all of a sudden we have tall poles. And I know we got to utilize it in its budget and all that. Let's find a way to make those lights a little more, that they blend in and give everybody, if I want to walk down there, you know, you feel safe, or people who live there. It's just connecting our neighborhoods. And then I know we got to use what we have. It's just cost, but I'm fine riding down there. I have a feeling Goethe Road is going to surprise me, and I'm going, ooh, maybe that's what Buck Island Simmonsville needs to look like.
And one other.
now it's on our plate, we're gonna address it. Anything else on
When
these two?
when we complete the other 8,000 feet of sidewalk, whatever, on Gothi, the other side of the road, I guess is what you're saying. Are we going to light that side also?
I think where we
Yes,
can, where we
yes.
can, we would light it. Yeah, it wouldn't just be the one side of the road.
And Godey did have a photometric plan. It had to be designed to standards because the right-of-way is narrower, lights are closer to the street. Light touches the street, we're required to go through permitting for that, and we did have a photometric plan for it. So I think you'll notice that it's more well-lit, whereas Buck Island, it's a wider right-of-way. The sidewalks are further out, and the emphasis at that time was to light the sidewalks, not light the road. So I think there's a whole two different criteria going on of why one was done one way and why it was done the other. We can go back and we will check it, figure out what we can do to address concerns.
I'm 1/5. I think all of us would like it to be
I do
light-friendly.
have one other, before you leave Godey, there was a group along Schultz Road that provided a petition to the town, I don't know if you remember that we're not too excited about the sidewalks on Schultz Road. We did it down the east side of Schultz Road, and now we're proposing to do it down the west side of Schultz Road. There's some property owners along there that were fighting it and they sent a petition to us to consider not doing the sidewalks on Schultz. We have since kind of modified our approach on Schultz. Instead of putting it on the opposite side of the ditch away from the road, we're actually going to fill the ditch and pipe the ditch and try to put as much of that sidewalk in the right-of-way as opposed to in people's front yards, basically.
But you're still doing the sidewalk.
We're planning on doing the sidewalk. I just want to let you know that there has been some discussion from citizens concerned about the sidewalk and how we are addressing that.
That'll increase the cost quite a
It will, yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't want to, I know when Buck Island, we were doing that, no, but y'all weren't here, but we were intruding into people's property. And there's nothing wrong with being a little bit off the road when they're supposed to be going slow anyway. And latter phases, it did disrupt the homeowner, but it did give them a connectivity to their neighbors.
Yeah,
So-
and I do want to say also that we're not only doing that on Schultz Road, we're going to Godey Road, and we're going to, in areas where we feel like it's better advantage to stay within the right-of-way, which I think this next phase, we're going to try to stay within the right-of-way almost the whole way, only where we absolutely have to get into people's properties.
Any more questions on this? I do have a request. When we were at the BIS neighborhood meeting, we are going to start, I heard, let's just get it from people on information. Is there a way to get just a couple of your slides? So Sharon's here, we can get it out to the
Sure.
social media, neighborhood kind of.
Yeah, I believe Kim puts it on the,
Online.
Can you get it where we can, like I could share it and send it and they could post it on Facebook or whatever? Okay. Because, you're here representing your neighborhood and we want a lot of people here, but we got to get the message out so they know we're discussing it. I know you will. I appreciate it.
I know you will.
Okay. Buckwalter Commerce Park update.
okay, Buckwalter Commerce Park. So to date, I'm sure y'all were out there today for the groundbreaking, hopefully for the Culinary Institute. To date, they've finished all the perimeter roads and the utilities. The Commerce Park's really coming together. Kroger opened up back in the summer. We've added some landscaping and enhancements, like sign enhancements to Buckwalter Place Boulevard. We have the decorative wall in the middle and some landscaping. We redid all the medians. Right now, Don Ryan Center for Innovation is under construction, and I won't go through each of these a little bit in detail. It is anticipated the shell portion will be complete by end of November, early December, and then the interior upfit, will be complete by February. I got updated schedules today, and that's what I've been told by the contractor. We have the town park. It's under construction right now, and part of that park is playground and a veterans memorial. We are anticipating that to be done we are hoping, it would be amazing if we can do this, but have it open ribbon cutting by Veterans Day. They have indicated they're going to do their best to try to get that to happen. At least we could probably still have an event out there, if the plaza itself is constructed and see what's coming. We're going to be installing some new wayfinding directional signage within the Commerce Park, and then some things that are outside of our jurisdiction, but obviously St. Joseph's Candler's coming along. More retail and restaurant shops are coming in some of the out parcels. Future, we are also working on some improvements to the law enforcement center, their parking and service yard. We'll be working on some economic development, site-ready pads and additional parking adjacent to the law enforcement center. Again, the Culinary Institute at Technical College of the Lowcountry. And then when we realized the Veterans Memorial was going to be going at the park, we realized there weren't facilities there to serve that. So we need to kind of come up with a little restroom design that will integrate within that park. And so that'll be a future fiscal year. So here's the overall master plan, and I'll zoom in a little bit. Here's Kroger.
And it's really big on our screen.
Okay, so we have Kroger, TCL, Don Ryan Center. Here's the park. Here's the roundabout. So you have Station 300 down here, Publix over here. LEC right there. This is zoomed in a little bit. This should be much easier to see. You see the town parks outlined, as well as the outline of the LEC, and then the blue is the out parcels to be developed with the economic development.
2Ds are future.
Future, correct. Yes, sir. So the town park, part of the park, like I said, is going to incorporate a Veterans Memorial in the northeast here. We'll have a inclusive, and by inclusive, I mean ADA accessible. All the equipment will be ADA accessible equipment. New playground in that corner. You'll have the event lawn in the middle. There's a sidewalk that goes around the entire perimeter of the park. New landscapings, and again, in the future, a restroom, which we're hoping will go right about in here, right in the middle. This was a drone shot from last week, I believe, maybe a week or two ago. You can see the site for the Veterans Memorial. So you're looking south. The playground will be on the right side of your screen, and the Veterans Memorial on the left.
Bathroom. That's just what we have to do when we have a park with a monument. I mean, don't we have Don Ryan Center? Wouldn't it be great to get people to walk in and see bathrooms? Because that's just something else you got to maintain and keep up.
It would, I'm thinking more of like kids at the playground. I don't think we have to have one, but it's just.
I was just curious.
I know I wouldn't. Sorry if my daughter's watching. I wouldn't want to drag her into the Don Ryan Center while people were trying to work, and but we can consider that in the future.
We put it as a placeholder. We put some infrastructure under the ground that didn't add considerable costs, simply to have the option in the future. And like a lot of our parks, we like to open them, see how they work, see if there's something else needed, and then retrofit. So,
right, the utilities are there, like you said. It's
So
they're there.
okay,
ready
you
to-
got it ready just in case. Okay.
So this is a sketch of the Veterans Memorial on the left side of the screen. That's kind of a concept sketch. And then on the right is looking at it from a plan perspective. So you see we'll have a memorial brick plaza, which you can, the American Legion Auxiliary Unit, they are doing a fundraising campaign right now where you could purchase a memorial brick, which will go into that plaza. We're going to have a tabby wall with the 6 seals of the military branches on the wall. We'll have a spot where the speaker can stand, for events. We'll have furniture out there, kind of like a cafe seating area, so you could go out there, eat lunch, reflect, take family out there. Again, it's right beside the park. And that is under construction. I mean, we are ready to go right now. I think we gave the contractor the go-ahead about a week ago. So they should be moving quite quick.
Well, the county that we're doing this, I just wonder if we need to let people know we're doing it. It's no sense to have 2 2 veterans memorials in our town. And I asked that because the Hampton Lake, the people that didn't want those fields there, I was at the grind one day and she was pitching to Mr. Covert about a Veterans Memorial Park, what a great place. And he was all over it. And I went, wait, we're doing one. Let's not have, I mean, I love it, but do we need, they could put that money in maybe other needs. So can we just maybe let their planning staff know what we're doing?
Of course.
Brian, just one quick, the seating that I see where the people are, sitting in front of the stage, what is that gonna be like?
It'll be
Park
portable.
benches?
No, it'll be portable, so we'll bring them out during events. It won't be, you're talking about,
Just be
are you talking about this spot right here?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about over in here?
On the brick.
On the break, yeah, we'll bring those out for events, but the seating behind it out in the palm tree area, those will be kind of, I don't know if you've been to Shelter Cove Town Center Park, but it's the same seats that they have there. It's a kind of cafe style seating, metal chair, metal bench, or a metal table. Questions? So the next component was that northwestern corner of the park, inclusive playground. And this is a sketch that our consultant did for us, Church's Recreation. So all these components that's an accelerator swing. This is a inclusive whirl where you could come on with a wheelchair accessible, roll onto it. You could be, spin around. This whole thing is accessible from the sidewalk. It's all ADA accessible.
That's a
over
fake
here.
gator.
Is the
right? That's a
gator
fake
need an
gator.
ADA grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to know why that alligator's
We're
gonna
gonna
wait for a
we're gonna adopt
child.
one, and that's why we'll pin them in.
It's crowd control.
You don't need bathrooms.
Brian, since you said that, go back one more time. Show me where a bathroom would be if it was there.
Here. We're thinking kind of like it would split the sidewalk where you could kind of like a breezeway into the park. Again, it hasn't been designed. It's just something that we realized we probably needed a few
Good
weeks ago.
spot right there. I kind of like.
This component over here, these are kind of sensory components, auditory, visual, texture. But it'll just be, I think it's going to be really great. I don't think this represents how good it's going to be when it's done. And we'll have the green turf, similar to what we have at
Release.
DuBose and Oscar Frazier.
What's in the back corner? The one,
Talking about right
on
here?
the other side, that right there.
Xylophone.
Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
like a
Okay.
xylophone. Those are those, the vertical ones are like the chimes, kind of. They're the big metal tubes where you can bang and, yeah. Again, Don Ryan Center, it's under construction right now. Apparently, not the latest, greatest slide. Here's the layout of it. I did have some pictures of the pour that they did the other day, but I think Mark sent all those to you all. Hopefully you saw that. Here's a layout of the floor space and the floor plan. Conceptual, it could, subject to change, but that's kind of how they have it laid out right now. Wayfinding, again, we'll have these similar to how we have downtown, where you have the kiosk and the sign showing where to go. This will be throughout the Commerce Park. LEC and the economic development sites. The LEC, we're going to be expanding parking to the west of the building and enclosing that in a security fence. I believe that's one of Chief's main goals, is to get that site secure. And then the areas in the blue will be future economic development pad ready or site ready. So we'll build the parking and have the pad ready to go. So when a tenant comes in, they know what spec they're going to get and the building can just go. So it'll be ready for them to start once we get a tenant for that site. And then a couple other items I just wanted to bounce off y'all is I don't think we have a name for the Buckwalter Place Park. I didn't know if that's something y'all wanted to consider tonight or in the future. And then we've also been approached by the Palmetto Ocean Conservancy about a location for their bottle cap mural project. We had discussed the town park at that location with them. We're kind of running out of room, but I think we have room in that corner of the playground, which I can't imagine a better place to teach kids about, if you have a mural of keep this out of the ocean, and the mural looks like a fish and it's made out of plastic, and you have a little story about why it's important to keep that out of the water. And again, it has that texture, it has that visual feel to it.
It's pretty big too, right?
8 or 12 by 12.
I think it was like an octagon
Little
shape, and
room.
each side was 8 feet.
I'd say this, their proposal's big, but that doesn't mean that the end product needs to be big. If it's our property, there's some conversation we can have with them to say, if it's going to be on our property, this is what we need to see. So I think their proposal is what it is, but we haven't even had conversations with them yet until we ask all of you if if you would consider that. The city of Beaufort's considering it, Hilton Head's considering it, and now Beaufort County, I believe, is considering it. And so if you would consider the bottle cap art project, this would be a decent location. And if you nod your head yes tonight, we still have a lot of work to do. Who's the artist? What's the end product? And memorandum of agreement put in place with them, similar to what we've done with the Veterans Memorial. So there's a lot of work, but it's just really gauging where you are at tonight to know if we should inch closer.
What other examples we have of this bottle cap mural location?
Fortunately, I don't have any electronic images. All I can show you is like that's
I
actually a
don't
bottle
think you
cap.
heard your last. I think he said of the location. But pass those over to us, Commissioner. I mean, is that what you said?
What other location options do we have?
Where have
Oyster Factory Park, possibly with that master plan that we'll be bringing to you, I think, in April. Any,
completed projects?
Have they done one yet somewhere else,
Oh,
I guess is what.
I
I
don't
didn't understand
know.
your question either then. So have we not looked at May River Road and Melanchant where the beautiful, where that park's finished? If they sized it, I just think that's got visibility. People are parking there now, they're walking there. It's not a big enough park for people to play in, but it might be big enough to set within those trees if she did a little different size or something. I'm open to anything. I don't have a preference other than, I just think that's another option.
again, we don't have a design of it. They haven't shown us what the piece would look like. It's just something that they brought about a month ago, I believe.
Well, is
to our attention.
council okay with us talking to them and maybe bringing back something a little more concrete?
Sure,
Sure.
we're not voting to approve it, we're just voting to
We're
hear more,
interested.
get some more information, and
A
far as I'm concerned.
long one and a square one or rectangle one or what we think would fit aesthetically and tell her. And then, we don't pay for it. She's going to build it and install it,
I believe it's
right?
all volunteer, yeah.
I love the idea, but, so are y'all okay with that? Okay, we
And
nodded.
is there any consideration, obviously you're not voting tonight, but park name, is there?
For the park at Buckwalter? Unless you name it after a person, couldn't you call it Veterans Park or whatever?
Could we call it the Veterans Park?
Call it anything you want to call it. It's at
It's just
Buckwalter Place
discussion.
Commerce Park, so we
Yeah,
always
let's-
say Buckwalter Place. The veterans,
About it and give some ideas and throw it out. Think about it. I
Yeah, I think
hadn't
that's a
thought
good way
about
of-
it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll think about a name.
Do y'all have any other questions of me tonight?
Anything else?
Wanna ride down Buck Island, Simmonsville, and look at them lights?
I am.
I will be driving down there, yeah.
I'm gonna go down there too, because it's dark. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Next, the last item, Scott, are you doing it? So this, just it's why it's on here, it was a letter requested by the mayor, requested by Hilton Head, for us to support their guiding principles, not to support anything that's already been voted on. The public voted on this penny. They have groups together that are trying to push along and get education out, and we just didn't have a consensus. And when we don't have a consensus, I figured it'd be good to shed some light on it and ask questions. My thoughts to Mark were, when you pulled that letter up, I am very concerned west. I think we always have to keep a focus. Everyone understands this penny took care of us east, but that is not helping us where all the growth is going, and future needs might not help others that are getting it now, and they need to darn well know they got to support us when we go west to bigger projects. So Mark reworded it a little bit, and so I'll just leave that with you, Scott.
Okay, thank you. Good setup.
There you go.
So if you are interested, I have a very short video that will give you an overview of the project if you're not familiar with it. If you don't want to look at it, we can cruise forward.
Lighthouse is in the wrong spot.
How long is your video?
It's no longer than 4 minutes. It's courtesy of DOT. They used it in their public information meeting. It will give you a good idea of the scope and overview of the project. I recommend watching it if you have any questions
Go
at all
for
about
it.
the project.
We've gone right through this workshop. We're good.
Quick 45 minutes.
I'll even
5 minutes, we'll
cut out the
stop you.
first minute of it. Where's my volume?
Gonna be able to hear it?
It worked in the pregame.
What else we want to look at?
We even tested it. We did.
Between Bluffton and Hilton Head Island. Project development process. This project includes proposed improvements to the US 278 corridor between Bluffton and Hilton Head Island, from Moss Creek Drive to Spanish Wells Road. The eastbound Mackey Creek Bridge, which was originally built in 1956, is scheduled to be replaced. Understanding the local mobility challenge, the project limits were extended to their current locations to allow the project team to look at the corridor as a whole. Potential improvements may also include modifying the remaining 3 bridges and associated roadways, improving access to Pinckney Island National Wildlife Refuge, and improving access to the C.C. Haig Jr. boat ramp. The purpose of the US 278 Corridor Improvements Project is to address structural deficiencies at the existing eastbound Mackey Creek Bridge, to increase capacity and reduce congestion along US 278 from Moss Creek Drive to Spanish Wells Road. To meet the purpose and need of the project, the engineering team has come up with several alternatives called the Preliminary Range of Alternatives. These alternatives, in addition to the no-build or do-nothing alternative, will undergo a systematic evaluation process, reducing the preliminary range of alternatives to the reasonable alternatives, and then further reducing the alternatives to arrive at the preferred alternative. Today, we are presenting the reasonable alternatives for public input. At each step in the process, specific criteria are used to evaluate the alternatives. These criteria include the projected number of properties that may be impacted, potential impacts to neighborhoods, protected lands, and wetlands. Potential impacts were quantified using Geographical Information Systems, GIS, and the best available data from federal, state, and local government. These are the 6 reasonable alternatives. We encourage you to navigate to the section on the Virtual Public Information webpage to take a closer look. These reasonable alternatives for the US 278 Corridor Improvements Project will be further refined based on your input and additional evaluation criteria to help determine the preferred alternative. More information about the traffic analysis and noise evaluation process are available on our project website within the Virtual Public Information meeting. Your feedback is specifically requested on the Purpose and Needs Statement, the Preliminary Range of Alternatives, the Draft Reasonable Alternatives, and Public Engagement Methods. We always welcome your input. However, there are specific points within the project development process where public comment is critical. Your feedback is an integral part of the alternatives analysis process. To ensure we give you time to comment on this project, the official public comment period is open until October 18th. You may submit a comment card via our project website or mail it no later than October 18th, 2019. We want to stay in touch with you. Please follow us on social media.
Okay, we'll move on. There've been a series of public meetings. This was the video that was used at the September 19th latest public meeting that they had. I thought it was a good way just to get a good look at the overall project. And so, again, just to emphasize, the purpose of the project is twofold, really. It's one, to address the structural deficiencies at the existing eastbound Mackey Bridge, and one, to be able to increase the capacity and reduce congestion within the limits of the project. So a little background on why we're talking tonight. The project's currently in the environmental assessment phase process, and again, as the video expressed, they've narrowed the number of alternatives down to 6 reasonable alternatives. The public comment period that you heard them talk about in the video has actually been extended to October 25th versus October 18th. So the town received a letter from the mayor of Hilton Head on August 27th, which is attachment 1 in your package there. The letter requested that the town of Bluffton endorse the town of Hilton Head Island's adopted guiding principles for the US 278 Gateway Corridor project. And they want to submit those comments and our endorsement along with them during the public comment period that we're currently in. The form of support would be a letter to the town of Hilton Head Island that would endorse their guiding principles. They got to these guiding principles as a result of appointing a committee to take a look at the scope of the project and to advise the town of Hilton Head Island and to advise SCDOT on the project. So their guiding principles are threefold, and you can read them right there in front of you. One is to fix the transportation issues in the corridor in a way that improves the safety and quality of life for all residents, workers, and visitors to Hilton Head Island. Number 2, to improve the safety and quality of life for residents of the neighborhoods and businesses directly impacted by the US 278 corridor. And number 3, have a gateway to and from Hilton Head Island that the region will be proud of. There are some subtext to those 3 main points, and those are found in your package as well. There is a letter from David Johnson, who's the chairman of that committee, to the town of Hilton Head Island that details the committee's findings and the committee's recommendations for guiding principles.
I couldn't open I have a packet. I couldn't open the.
Nope, it wouldn't open for me
And
either.
there is nothing here, but do you have the letter that we drafted that you could put up?
I do not have the letter that we drafted. I have the letter in my
Open up the
package.
packet, maybe? We just didn't get a packet.
Okay. I can pull the packet up on the screen if you like.
On the live link.
Couldn't open it for some reason. It was weird.
So here's the letter that was sent by Mayor McCann, addressed to Mayor Solka, asking for our town's endorsement of their guiding principles. Down to their guiding principles so you can see the subtext of them. Here are their guiding principles. Almost forgot this wasn't a Mac computer. I was about to try to blow it up the way we do on a Mac.
Here's our letter we had drafted that we sent to council.
I do not have that letter in this
That was
packet, ma'am.
asking about. So. Let's ask questions if Mark could find the letter and open it up. We all got it, and it was just, I think, don't vote here, but I think we can give kind of an idea where we are. Maybe if you have questions. I just wanted to make sure this is just supporting the principles. We all can provide feedback and public comment on our own, how we feel about
Yes,
the
ma'am.
project,
Correct.
but it is supporting just the 3 principles. And what we added was to remind everyone we really, really support more future principles, which take us to I-95.
Right.
And that's what Mark had sent
Right.
to all of
The
us.
scope of the letter, as it was drafted, I do recall, and the scope of the letter included that entire area from 95 to Hilton Head and didn't just focus specifically on the Hilton Head
But
aspect
it's
of it.
not, what I want to know is, so this is going to be sent for public comment from the town, but all residents can still make public comment.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's still
Absolutely.
DOT.
Yes, ma'am.
That makes the decision at the end of the day.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
And-
not a group of anybody. They're looking at everything and they're making the smart decision on which route.
Right.
Then they have to have the money to do that route, because right now we only have one bridge that's getting replaced and $80 million for something.
Right, and construction's at least 3 years out at this point.
Any questions?
So just to be clear, what's requested from the town of Hilton Head Island is just a letter to them that they can include in their public comment as an endorsement.
Okay.
The letter, as we had drafted it for your consideration initially, reads as such. I'm writing to express the town of Bluffton's support of the US 278 Gateway Corridor project. We agree with the primary objectives of the project, which, as we understand them, are to address structural deficiencies at the existing eastbound Mackey Creek Bridge and increase capacity and reduce congestion along US 278 from Moss Creek to Spanish Wells Road. We support this project as part of a larger effort and continued need to address transportation issues in the corridor shared by several state political subjurisdictions to include Jasper County, the town of Hardeeville, Beaufort County, the town of Bluffton, and the town of Hilton Head Island. It is our hope that this project improves safety and quality of life for all who live, work, and travel US 278 between Interstate 95 and Hilton Head Island. Thank you for allowing us to comment on this important project.
Yes.
I still don't support that letter. The letter doesn't address the residents that live in Stony, and I invited one of the leaders from that area here tonight who questioned me on several occasions about our support. I would like to give her an opportunity to talk. Luana Sellers, would you please come up?
Could maybe state your name and address for us, please?
Luana Graves Sellers for the record.
Luana what?
Graves Sellers
Okay.
for the record.
And an address, please, ma'am, so we can get it for the...
Oh, thanks. 90 Gloucester Road, 1204 Harbor Master, Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Yes, if you would just tell us some of your concerns or the community concerns about this project.
I've been working on this project for about 2 years now. Once the issues of the deficiency with the Mackey Bridge became evident, and whether the project would get us to this point where we are, just for clarification, I am on the SDOT stakeholders group that has been provided information prior to the public release of information. I'm also on the County Transportation Department committee, so I've been actively involved from 3 different areas, the Native Island community, as well as the county, and as well as the state. My concerns with the project as a whole is that the community, regardless of what the state has submitted, the state has stated that the 6 alternatives that they have released are only dealing with the road project through the bridge. The issue of safety and the widening of the road obviously extends to the Cross Island Split, or at least Spanish Wells Road. So all of the alternatives, I have my opinion on those as well, but the project as a whole needs to be from Moss Creek all the way to Spanish Wells, not solely the bridge. And my concern is that the alternatives that they have submitted are stopping at that point. It is not a, in my opinion, an educated way of going through the process, because I'm sure, as all of you know, that the cost of the project, which you just mentioned, is a fixed budget. It's not a pie-in-the-sky budget. And during the previous stakeholder meeting, I specifically asked about options or alternatives 5 and 6, whether or not the road has been costed out for the expenditures, and the answer is we have not dealt with that as of yet. The alternatives are just the alternatives that have been submitted without the financial costing for those projects. And if you go back to what I call the spaghetti models, 5 and 6 are the 2 that go through the power lines. And I'm not an engineer, but if you're going to build a new road that is running down the power lines, that's going to be much more expensive than if you widen or alter the existing road. The project from the very beginning from the state has always said that it was going to be 6 lanes. And so if the project, in fact, is ultimately going to be 6 lanes, then as Councilman Hamilton just said, the Stony community should be a part of what will, should have some idea of what should be expected if those 6 lanes do, in fact, come through the area, all the way through Spanish Wells. Because the other issue is that safety and traffic patterns through those intersections or those lighted intersections are also a concern. So there, to me, there are several factors that need specific answers. And I know David Johnson is here, you know, from the task force on the island, and he can obviously speak to their work and the progress that they're making. The guiding principles specifically include the Stony areas or the neighborhoods that would be impacted. And if the road widening at this point is not an issue that is discussed and included in the alternatives, then the guiding principles or even how the project will ultimately affect the community, we're all guessing. And those are my concerns, which obviously are significant because we are not being given all of the information that we need from the state.
Question, we're not voting, we're not supporting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Right.
We're
No, I understand
not
that.
supporting a pathway. We can all individually make our comments on which pathway. I don't know what I'm going to do on that. But this is, I mean, I would like to support a town where they are going to have to support us down the road. But if it is the Stony neighborhoods, should we write specifically our thoughts on supporting it, but we don't want them to be impacted? I mean, we can write this support letter anyway. I was more concerned, I didn't know about the routes, because I think they asked for this letter before the 19th.
Yes, that was
So,
back in August.
Yeah, so, you know, I just was focused on where our world is, and that's west. So can Mark take a stab at rewriting it to say that? Now we have this information since the first letter went out, because it's not our business to have y'all, I mean, it's not our business to chime in on the world of Hilton Head and impacts,
Oh, I
but it
understand.
is our business to support where we can. I mean, we like to do this unanimously, but we don't have to, but we like. Some guiding principles that could be further down the road enhanced for us when we start affecting like the mainland. So can we at least get another stab at it?
Okay. Let me give you
Thank
an
you.
experience that I remember, and I think most of you remember too. When Mount Pleasant did almost the same thing, they divided communities. There was families that were divided by a 4-lane highway right down the middle. There's a sister and a brother that was divided right down the middle, that they couldn't even walk to see each other anymore. Definitely couldn't cross the street. So these kind of things were lesson learned almost 10 years ago when Mount Pleasant did the same kind of expansion to their highways. So knowing better, I would always want to do better. And unless they can come up with definites, it's hard for me to support it. Even changing the letter is not going to, it's still saying we want you to build this road, or we want you to take whatever path you choose. Just pick a pie. I mean, just pick a piece of the pie, and whichever one you come up with, we already supported it. I can't do that.
I'm confused. I mean, our letter's not going to help or hurt. I'm looking down the road too. We need, we want lost. We want so many things that all of our towns need to support us on. And I don't see this picking I mean, I think we can make actually could help the people that live in that area by stating our opinion on a letter is a lot better than not doing anything at all.
But it's in the guiding principles, and it specifically states that location.
But let's be clear on what we don't want to happen to that. I mean, we wouldn't want Buck Island, Simmonsville, Gothey, or Old Town to have a change. That would, so why can't we be a little stronger on how we feel about, I mean, and a lot of these people have relatives that live in Bluffton, too, But by doing nothing, we don't even get to make an opinion on that, Fred. We don't get, I mean, by not doing anything, it doesn't matter. But if we can make a statement and really cover the true concerns you have in a different wording, at least we get it on paper and we can let them have it and somebody hears us.
I'm not blocking your personal opinion, and almost in anything we do, we all have our personal views and we vote on our conscience.
Yeah.
So when the majority rules, I'm just not signing the letter, just don't add my name to it.
I have a question. If I have to ask David Johnson, the chairman, if I may. So I understand clearly. Again, I see this as a protection mechanism for the communities of Stony that they have went out and spoke to relentlessly, and had two individuals from the community representing them that voted for the guiding principles. Now, here's my question. 6 designs have been narrowed down by the state, okay, as reasonable. And reasonable has everything to do with economics and all kinds of stuff. So out of the 6, if one was chosen that, once everybody knows which one that is, including the Stony community, and there was some heartburn about it, would your committee advocate for them at that point?
Asking.
David?
Oh. You got to come up to the microphone.
Well, can I say something before I answer that question?
Can you say your name and address so
Dave,
we can have it for the minutes?
I'm David Johnson. I'm on Hilton Head Island, 33 Ocean Point South.
Thank you.
First of all, I appreciate Bluffton taking this up. I mean, no matter how you come about it, I think it's a worthy discussion, and I appreciate it. If I could just, before I answer your question, just explain, may I explain just the background very quickly, the guiding principles? The whole purpose for the committee, when the committee started, even before, as Luana said, before the alternatives came out, we said, let's take a step back. And before we get into the details and start digging into the alternatives when they come out, what do we believe that the community, and it's a regional project, which is why we've come to, why Beaufort County endorsed it unanimously, the guiding principles, and we wanted you to look at it, was because we said, okay, let's step back, and what would define success on a project? A big picture, what for the community? And that's when we came up with these principles. Specifically, number 2, I would point out, and I think it's really important to this discussion. One of the first things we did as a committee is we went out to Stony and Windmill Harbor, that are already directly impacted tremendously by 278. The noise, the walk. So we went out there and walked the sidewalk, which I drive it all the time. But until we went out there, and Emery Campbell walked us around Stony, gave us some historical information. We all walked down the sidewalk. And when you walk that sidewalk, you fear for your life, and I kid you not. I mean, it's loud, the cars are whipping past, and that explains why the stewards, that come to almost every one of our meetings have said, we can't take our kids across there. We can't get to each other's houses. It's split Stony already, okay? So no matter what the new, and we can talk about the alternatives, Stony is the quality of life is terrible there, which is why number 2 is so important and why Beaufort County brought up Stony, why Hilton Head Town Council brought up Stony, and why they understood that number 2 is basically saying, if nothing is, what we said, if nothing is built, let's say just the one Mackey Creek deficient bridge structure is fixed, which is what we have money for right now from the federal government, $43 million. If that's done, nothing else is done, Stony is still, the quality of life there is terrible. And so I know for a fact that Mayor McCann has said to me, this is the most important project of his term, but he means that not just if the corridor is fixed or not, but the quality of life in Stony is improved. And that's really what number 2 is saying, is that no matter what happens, there's a commitment, there's an endorsement that has to be improved. Okay, so those are the 3 things as we stepped back from the project and said, what can we as a community, as a region, be proud of when all this is said and done? And number 2 is exactly dealing with that community. There are 2 routes that go on. Luana said that it only dealt with the bridge, but they do go on to Jenkins and Hilton Head. One of them, the power line, and the other one widening the road in Stony. Okay? To answer your question, Mr. Wood, I mean, I think that we are trying to get, before anything comes out on an alternative, what we're trying to do is dig down and have that input from the communities that are impacted and try to get some consensus from the island as to how to navigate this. And I'll say frankly, I think there's an opportunity here on this project. I always have felt this, to somehow heal some of the divisions that are in the transportation, that 278 has split Stony, has done some things. I think that if we think about it in terms of not scarcity, but that there's a possibility that there's some good things can happen out of this project, because you're getting a lot of people around the table on one specific issue, okay, which is where progress works, like here, on one specific issue that are dealing with each other and trying to figure it out. Not just on our committee, where we have a very diverse group of people, including at least 4 Native Islanders, 2 from Stony, but also within the wider, we've had, Luana's been very faithful of coming to these meetings, and we've had a lot of discussion at these meetings. We had a lot of public input. And our role, we have another meeting tomorrow night at Hilton Head at the library, where the SCDOT is going to be there to talk about these alternatives. Our goal, ambitious as it is, and I'll finish, is probably unlikely that we'll reach this goal, but our goal is to make sure that every citizen on Hilton Head, and hopefully in the region, in the county, knows what the process is, understands what the alternatives are currently, and feels like they have an input in this discussion. So, thank you.
Thank you. I don't want our council to do something that's going to cause us to have friction. I don't. Not for a neighborhood across the bridge, but we're kind of getting into their business a little bit. So my thought would be, let's think about it. It's the 26th. I wouldn't mind calling the people who actually live there, and I don't know who the 2, I know Alex Brown's probably vocal. Who's the other lady?
Sarah Stewart.
Sarah Stewart. I would.
Vice Chair.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, they're the ones living there. They're the ones going to be impacted. I just don't feel good about us having a letter without Fred signing it, or I don't know what you're saying, and I don't know how Harry feels.
Well, I mean, I grew up right around the corner right there, so I'm very familiar with it, and I will agree to one point that when they four-lane 278 is what divided that whole area, you know, I mean, this is only gonna make it a little worse or better, hopefully. I was encouraged by hearing some of or even reading that number 2. Maybe there is some good, maybe it's gonna help more than it's gonna hurt. But my question in my mind is, how can I don't know what they're gonna do yet. You know, I mean, it's hard for me to say I endorse something without knowing what it is. You know, I mean, if they come up the principles sound great. I'm fine with those 3 principles. But as far as saying yes, because I said yes now that I agreed with them coming and building something that causes more harm, you know, that's my issue. I like to know what I'm putting my neck on the chopping block for.
This is a guide, Larry. This is not to choose which of the 6. This is to say, as David said, the chairman, how will we define success? And so these are the things that they've been trying to do as a committee to identify, for example, number 2, which takes in the issues of safety and everything for Stony. This is what they're trying to do to say, okay, if you pick number 3 or number 4, but it doesn't hit these guiding principles, we don't necessarily consider it successful. We consider it a failure. So that's what this is. This is a tool in the toolbox for the community to be able to say, this is what we want. Now, give it to us if you can.
Mark wanted to clarify something.
Mayor Salka, Councilman Wood pretty much paraphrased what I was going to say. Perhaps I shouldn't have removed the 3 guiding principles, number 2 being most important, improve the safety and quality of life for residents of the neighborhoods and businesses directly impacted, so on and so forth, and Stony is the first bullet. I removed that because I made the letter of support just simply a letter of regional support and not so specific on what's going on in Hilton Head Island. So if you would, as an option, if you would like me to add those 3 principles back into the letter and simply endorse the principles, I'm happy to do that. But again, I'll follow your lead, trying to understand where your heads are at.
Can I ask Luanda another question? Number 2, it says improve the safety and quality of life for residents of neighborhoods, business directly impacted by US 278 corridor. And of course, Stony is bullet point number 1. What quality of life would they improve? What would be improved?
We can't answer that.
That's my point. You improve something and you don't know what you're going to improve.
And if the road is widened,
Well, we're not voting tonight, and we're missing. Mark, you've heard the concerns. I don't know. I mean, I think it's I would like to support without getting in people's business. I don't want to get in Hilton Head's business. I actually wish number 2 wasn't even on there, because we do believe in addressing transportation needs, and we believe in the gateway and the region. But I don't want them to come in our business when we start doing things on our roadways. But that's my personal thought. Is there something you want to just would you humor Mark and let him get another stab at a letter and let us look at it before the 26th? And then we can decide when we're all together if we want to do it or not, or if we do it and people don't want to sign it, maybe go that way, which I'm really not crazy about. Terry,
are they waiting on is this a time restraint to get this done or something? Because until they know what path they're going to take, I'm still going to be stuck.
So I can answer that.
Oh, go ahead.
So the 26th is the deadline for support for the guiding principles. 25th, yes, I thought. So the 25th, so Mayor McCann asked the Town Council of Bluffton, and I'm sure several others, to support the guiding principles and that deadline to support is no later than October 25th. So there's a shot clock ticking here. And so whether you're going to collectively or unanimously support the guiding principles or not is days away.
Question, Mark or Terry. Who are they, why do they need a letter of support? Is what, I guess what I'm trying to say. I mean, what would our opinion have to do? I mean, the money's coming sometime here. Everybody voted for that, so the money's on the way. I mean, who are they going to tell that the town of Bluffton supports them? I mean, is it DOT? Is it the state? I mean, what effect will us saying, yes, we like this, have on somebody's decision down the road?
Where we are in the process is that the town of Hilton Head Island will submit a comment during this public comment period, and they would like, during their comment, to include an endorsement of their guiding principles from the town of Bluffton, along with their comment.
To the permitting agency.
To the permitting, to DOT, yes.
Are they commenting on which route they want? Maybe that's the key. If they're not commenting on the route, they're just, I mean, can we find that out?
I don't believe that's true. Mr. Johnson may
Yeah.
be able to better answer that.
Because the comment period ends on the route. I just heard today at TCL, they were talking about, oh, you got to make a comment on which route you like. I'm like, really? Which, again, shows me how little we're paying attention. Yeah.
May I address it?
Yeah. So will you comment, will you address the whole route thing? Will this go with a route?
The guiding principles, again, to step back, they're not about the route. They're not about the route. The discussion on route is going to happen over the next 4 or 5 months within the committee and within public opinion, okay? This is not about the route. This is about basically the preferred alternative that comes out that the DOT will decide on at some point by the fall of 2020 is when they come out with that.
Okay.
We will be working to get some kind of a consensus on our committee before sort of mid-year, by March, let's say, because they'll have made a decision somewhere April, May, or June internally at the DOT. Unless what the sense I get from the committee, and the reason we put this out, is unless a preferred alternative that we come up with, or that the DOT comes up with eventually, unless it meets these criteria, and that the town and the county would be involved in that, then it wouldn't be a consensus on the committee to move ahead with a preferred alternative. And at the end of the day, the municipality, and this is where the power of unified Beaufort County, Hilton Head, and Bluffton, that it's really just, we don't need the endorsement. It's showing unification to the DOT that unless they meet these guiding principles, it's going to have a hard time flying. So really, and the guiding principles, when I say it includes the county and the town, there are some things that the county and the town can be involved with in fixing and working on number 2, that the DOT might not be, but if we can move the DOT in certain areas to do things, there might be ways, depending on where the route goes, but if the preferred alternative does not meet the guiding principles, then it's going to be hard for the committee to endorse, is all I'm saying. If anything, they were set up, this was set up in order to be pro Stony, the native island community. That's kind of, we felt like the unification of centering around these guiding principles of the county, the town of Hilton Head. Hardyville has taken them up. Mayor Williams has talked to me about it. He's taken them, I don't know when he's going to vote on it, but that shows some unity from the region, is all it was. That's all it's about, is to show some unity.
So your comment period, but at LATS, they told us they extended it. Is the comment period for everything, for the route?
No, the
That's
comment
what they
period,
told
the
us.
comment period is a is a comment period for the routes, for public opinion to come out.
Right.
It's not to make any kind of decisions.
No, but the comment period ends the 25th, and that's when all of us can make the phone call or the letter to say, we like Route 2, we like Route 4, and the
Right.
town wants to comment because we support our principals on whatever route's chosen.
That the route, whatever preferred alternative,
Has
should
to
meet
match
these,
those
should
things.
match these guiding principles. And the 25th date, by the way, is just for the environmental assessment requires a public comment period, which is really only a month, and they extended it. Everything that's public, every public comment that goes in before the 25th, by the 25th, goes into the formal environmental assessment report and has to be commented on. Doesn't mean there's plenty of comment period after the 25th. It's just it's a date for that particular report.
For that one length of bridge.
It's just to get a comment in for the environmental assessment. They will take comments after that. It just won't go into the formal report.
The National Environmental Protection Act requires this particular comment period.
Yeah.
And these
thank you.
comments will be made and satisfy that comment period requirement. But what Mr. Johnson is saying is DOT will continue to take feedback from stakeholders and from the community until they present their remaining preferred alternative.
In the fall of 2020, yes.
So we could make a statement later as we hear more where they're headed on their alternatives. It doesn't have to be before the 25th.
Right, and you don't have to, look, you don't, I mean,
I know, I just
you
feel
can
like we're
endorse,
we're
you can
talking
think about it and endorse these later or never endorse them.
Yeah.
The 25th is kind of, I don't want to say it's an arbitrary date, but it is specific to the NEPA process, and that's it.
I agree. I just don't want to put us at a, we're just, no one seems to, Dan reminded me, we have voted unanimous on every single resolution we've ever had since Dan's been on this council. And I'm just feeling we're getting in territory that we really have no say on. We support, we are, the Bluffton's the one that got that penny passed. So we as a town supported that project. I just don't want us not to be able to be unanimous. That's why I wanted to bring it up to here and hear both sides. And now I think we can have time to talk to people who live there if we want to go further into this, if it's passionate on somebody's shoulders.
For me,
I know you have wanted to talk, but
Mayor, for me, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but again, say that you did away with this document. Forget it.
Did away with what?
This document, forget about it. Just say it didn't exist. And so the DOT's got 6, and it's going to choose. It's going to choose.
Right.
Okay? Then what does the people at Stony have on their behalf at that point? That's what this was for the citizens of the town and the community to say, we have a voice, DOT, here it is.
well, if that community, if I could hear, again, I just felt like we're crossing the bridge, getting into people's business. But I'm okay calling people who represent the leaders there to say if they support it, I don't know why we wouldn't help them. But the document's going to stay because Hilton Head and Beaufort County have signed it. It's definitely going forward. It just might not have us. But again, we can talk about it, let it kind of marinate. We can't vote tonight anyway.
Well, I do
Make our
understand
own.
I understand what Dan's saying too.
Yeah,
And
I
I
do
would
too.
hate to miss an opportunity, not make sure or whatever. I really don't know how much
Make sure they
our
are.
votes really, like, in my opinion, hardly anything.
just shows unity.
You know, I mean, it might impress somebody on some other level, but I mean, we really have nothing to say about whether they do it, how they do it, or anything else that they do. I would hate to miss an opportunity to help that Stony community be protected by this number 2. You know, so I don't like the way that's worded personally, but if the people who live there aren't satisfied with it, then I would say that too. Yeah, I know. I mean,
But one representative is here who said that statement, number 2, does not give them any direction. It doesn't say, we're going to relocate you to New York. It doesn't say we're going to build you a house where you are. It doesn't say we're going to give you more than fair market value for your property. It's just an open statement. It doesn't say anything.
Jump in, and then we're going to finish.
Just a question perhaps to the chairman. Is it your committee's thought that an endorsement by whatever government entity it is, this one or Hilton Head, gives you additional ammunition or strength to talk with the DOT to make sure that whatever they do, it has to comply with number 2, which says they have to improve the safety and quality of life in Stony? Is that the thought why the mayor asked us to do this? Is it to give you additional firepower to negotiate or talk with the DOT? Not that they'll listen, but it seems to me that it will give you, that the effort is to try to get some additional force behind your committee to make sure that number 2 is complied with. And if that's the case, then perhaps maybe that addresses some of Mr. Hamilton's concerns. That's the way I read it, but I don't know what the motivation is.
I think that it gives us, by Beaufort County and joining in, it shows the DOT that it's not just Hilton Head, that it's a regional issue. Right. And so yes, I think it does. To what degree, as you say, we can influence the DOT, but they've worked pretty well with us so far. So I think it gives us a lot of, I don't know if I call it ammunition, but it shows that it's a regional issue. It was voted on as a regional issue pretty strongly. It wasn't close. And there are some protections that need to be in here. And that's what it says as a region. Here's what we think. And again, it's not a route.
Right.
It's not a route. It's saying, as a region, we believe these 3 things are the guiding. They're not supposed to be specific. They're supposed to be specific in terms of just principles. And
does the Stony community currently, you had 2 members on your committee, and maybe as many as 4 giving impact or giving input. Does the Stony community now support these guiding principles, particularly number 2?
I believe so. The ones the Stony community members that they're on our committee, and the ones I've talked to have been very positive that these.
That number 2 is important.
Yes, it's important. But I'm not as close to them as Luana is day to day and everything. But I have spent a lot of time with many of the Stony community. I actually was discussing them today with Emery Campbell, walked him through it.
Well, we all, thank you, David.
I'm sorry.
We're not voting. I think we all, if this is important, and it is important to support your neighbor. I know enough people there. I don't need a representative that doesn't live there that I can talk to. I can go there tomorrow and talk to a dozen people that live there. I'm going to take on that and ask them. So I think all of us should, and maybe get back with each other. And if it's not going to splinter us, and and at the end of the day, we can always do this later. Us investigating if we want. We can report back and see where it goes. And try to support them.
I would think
my
that
fault.
in y'all's committee, when you came up with all this, obviously you had a vote. Or did who didn't, correct? So was it a unanimous or close to be? I mean, was it a 5-4 or 6-5? I mean, I would just like to know that. That would give us a little better indication of
Sorry.
how
See,
many people that know everything.
No, it was 9-1, okay, and the one, just to be specific, was an engineer who, on principle, we were working on it. He on principle, he believes that you have to have the document at least a day before he will, so he supports it. It was a technicality, but it was overwhelmingly
Is he from
supported.
the Stony area? Or
No,
where's
he
from?
actually just moved to Bluffton.
Oh, great.
Darn engineers.
We don't need any more engineers.
By the way, we do
A lot
have,
of
we do
engineers.
have a,
Brian has to approve all engineers that move to Bluffton.
anyway, thank you for this
I-
great
yeah.
discussion. I appreciate you guys thinking about it and considering it.
I have, Mayor, one last thing. I know we want to wrap this up.
gotta
but
wrap it
I
up,
know,
right.
but listen, I want to say, I appreciate this because one of the things that, you know, I've heard said, it's Hilton Head. I voted to support the penny sales tax. It's my money too. It's everybody's money sitting here at the table. So I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to be a participant and have a voice. Thank you.
No, I do too, and it,
Not that
just
we
wanted,
need y'all
this
to bring
was
us any other
exactly
Hilton
why
Head
we
issues.
wanted to do it, to talk about it, ask questions. I'm glad both of y'all came, and we weren't going to vote yea or nay tonight anyway. So and I wanted to hear what they all said, because we really never had a chance to talk about the letters, so, okay. So do we adjourn? Yes, is there a motion to adjourn, Mr. Hamilton? We're adjourned.